YouTube, and welcome to Patreon Picks! On the very first episode of Patreon Picks, the episode was brought to you by Megan Anderson, and she had me look at The Last of Us. That's a story-based zombie video game with a lovable daughter-like character, but we've come a long way. This episode of Patreon Picks was brought to us by Megan Anderson, and she had me look at the Telltale's The Walking Dead. That's a story-based zombie video game with a lovable daughter character. Let's hop into it.
Okay, so this was actually a very difficult game for me to play. Whenever I tell anyone in real life what exactly it is that I do after I tell them YouTube, I tell them with very big air quotes around the first word, humorous video game reviews. And honestly, there's probably air quotes around that last word as well. Mostly what I do is I play a game and I attempt to paraphrase the story, you know, hit the main story beats, but I concentrate mostly on the funny things that happen specifically in my playthrough. Telltale games laugh in the face of everything that I attempt. This is not a game that you play. There is nothing unique to my playthrough. Most games have some level of freedom or interactivity, but not this game. The trade-off, however, is a highly curated story that, I'll be honest, is pretty fun to enjoy. But it is very hard to cover.
Heemin gaming style, yeah! Oh, so close.
So, as I thought about it, I figured this is no longer a game review of Telltale's The Walking Dead Season 1, but more of a movie review. Now, with Telltale games, they tell you up front,
this game series adapts to the choices you make. The story is tailored to how you play.
this is the biggest lie in all of video game history. No, sir. Think about it like a nihilistic view of life.
People are walking around pretending that human effort matters when our species itself will be gone in a geologic nanosecond. We will be nothing but an odd brief blip on the radar of this planet's story, which itself is an odd brief blip in the larger cosmic story, and nothing matters, and people who believe otherwise are mindless idiots.
Let's look at 4 major choices that you make during this game. Save the guy or save the girl. Just kidding, they both survive. Save the boy or save the dude. Just kidding, the kid lives and the dude dies. Save this old man? Nope, he's dying no matter what. The closest thing that you have to a real, impactful choice is to save Doug or Carly at the end of episode 1. One of these characters will die and the other will survive based on your choice. But at the beginning of episode 3, the character that you save gets shot in the bloody head, invalidating everything. So, does anything matter in this game? No, not really. So I decided to run a bit of an experiment. You see, throughout the game, you have tons of dialogue choices, but since they don't really change anything, I just decided to go with a non-stop barrage of ellipses. The strong and silent protagonist.
But you don't talk too much, do you?
So in this game, you play as Lee Everett, a convicted murderer. His wife slept with the state senator and, he murdered him. The game starts with Lee being taken upstate by a policeman, and the officer is telling you a bunch of stories about other killers he's dealt with over the years. As he's talking to you, you notice like a large number of policemen going the other way on the street. I mean a lot. SWAT cars, helicopters, the whole 9 yards. And then the officer takes his eyes off the road and slams into a zombie, and we just go flying. We're soaring, flying. A minute or two later, you slip back into consciousness with a leg wound and the police car is upside down. So you take the necessary precautions to set yourself free. You see the officer, he appears to be dead. So you go to get the keys, which are conveniently right next to his mouth. Hey, that's convenient. I was actually kind of expecting. Oh, no! So yeah, to no one's surprise, a game based on The Walking Dead and zombies. Who knew? So I quickly back up to the cop car, which conveniently has a shotgun right next to it. I lock it, I load it, and then I blast it. But shotguns are pretty loud. Soon the forest we landed in has zombies oozing out of every last orifice, and Lee's on the move. He limps over a fence, pulls himself over, and lands in a backyard. At last, a moment's reprise. I don't know how to pronounce that word. So we enter the house and we start looking around. Here I am looking for some Pop-Tarts. I don't really find any, but I do find a walkie-talkie. Once I get it, I get a call from this little girl, and I kind of freak her out by not speaking. And progress is blocked, so eventually I do answer her. But while we're talking, I get attacked by her zombie babysitter. And while fighting her off, the little girl brings me a hammer so I can bludgeon the zombie to death. The This, my friends, is Clementine, one of the most likable kid characters in video games. I was actually talking to Megan about this character, and we think that even Pro Jared would like this kid. Very moe. I know moe in anime is usually interpreted as cute, but no, it means that you want to protect it. And that is precisely what you do in this game. So, to protect our little ray of sunshine, we need to leave this house. And you get an almost real choice right here. Do you leave at night, or do you leave during the day? I chose to leave at night, but I kinda wish we left a little earlier because I find two characters who are looking for their friend Chet.
Did you see any of those things? One of them just got our buddy Chet.
First character in a video game named Chet. Dead before we even started.
But we escape with those characters who take us to a farmer named Herschel, who patches up my leg while asking me a myriad of questions. I only ellipses one of his questions, but the next day he calls me out. So here's where I'm gonna tell you how you should probably play this game. Always tell the truth. You will never get away with lying in this game. And if you tell the truth, people are nice to you. The other thing I would suggest is choosing responses that just seem the most funny. This game is incredibly great with its voice acting, and the writing is top notch.
It's called a salt lick.
Yeah, but don't lick it. It's gross.
Did you lick it?
I don't know.
I feel like ellipsing your way through the entire story is the wrong choice. Mainly because since the game wants to call you out for lying at any chance it gets, ellipsing usually is interpreted as lying.
Really? Because I find it kind of hard to lie when you don't say anything.
Anyway, shortly after the conversation with Herschel, you have to make your first choice. As mentioned, save boy or man. Just kidding, boy live, man die, haha, so funny. I decided to be indecisive with this, and so after that, Kenny saved Duck. And Sean dies even after my character tries to help him. Either way, all of us get kicked off the farm. But now I spend the rest of the game with Kenny, who, because of my choice, hates me. So you leave with Kenny, his boy, and his wife to Lee's hometown of Macon, Georgia. But when his truck runs out of gas, zombies get alerted to your presence. Fortunately, there are some people hiding in the drugstore. Doug, Lily, Carly, Glenn, and the lovable Larry. Actually, this guy is the exact opposite of Clementine. I'll remember him forever because he's the biggest scumbag to ever grace video game.
I plan to be around long after you're gone. And if you turn, I'll be the one to put the axe through your skull.
Oh, you are just simply irresistible, dude. And you did hear me correctly when I said Glenn. You may have noticed this when I said Herschel as well. The Walking Dead game is based off of the comic book. That's why we have this very unique graphic style. And I think the way that they made Robert Kirkman's art style just come alive is, it's like Larry, man. It's irresistible, but without any sarcasm this time. So Larry worked himself into an aneurysm, Kenny is straight up out of gas, and the food situation is bad. And it's up to me to solve all of these problems through the power of point-and-click gameplay! The food is easy. You can find some food just lying around the store, but there's not enough for everyone, so choose carefully. Okay, for the gas, you need to help Glenn. He decided to go alone, but he ran into some trouble on his way back. When you go to help him, you run into a fun puzzle of killing a bunch of zombies in a motor inn. And how do you kill them? Why? Through the power of point-and-click gameplay! And this next part is great. Classic point-and-click options, but with every single successful choice, well, you kill a zombie. And after killing all of them, you end with an axe in your hands. And this is the moment where I decided, okay, you have no agency. So the reason that we killed all those zombies was so that we could help a woman who's trapped up here. And I subconsciously wanted to attack them from the right side, because that would mean you would spend a shorter amount of time in the zombie's line of sight. But nope! I need to attack from the left, because this game needs me to do things in a very specifically crafted way. No choices.
Art is a lie, nothing is real. So,
now we meet a woman who's been bit, and you have to decide if you'll let her off herself. Just kidding, you don't decide anything. If you don't give her a bullet, she'll just wrestle one away from you. And we make it back. After that, I use the axe to kill a pharmacy employee to get the keys to get into the back room so that we can get pills for Larry. Unfortunately, this triggers an alarm, and the whole city hears it, and we're just getting swarmed. In the chaos, Carly and Doug are put into danger, and you need to decide who lives and who dies. I try indecision, but we lose if both of them die, so I have to decide, Carly or Doug. I eventually went with Doug because I've already seen what happens if you save Carly. But while we're making our escape, Larry tries to kill me, but Kenny saves me. And that is the end of episode 1 of The Walking Dead. But hey, we're looking at all 5 episodes, so I hope there's still some voltage left in your can. If not, you can pause the video and go get some more. I won't mind. Wait, this game was made by Rebecca Gamin? Well, what is that, like my wife or something? 3 months have passed since the last episode, and me and newcomer Mark are out hunting and talking. Well, he's talking, I'm just ellipsy-seeing, I don't think that word's a verb. Anyway, after he whiffs taking out a bird, we hear a shriek of pain and run towards it. And we see 2 college students and their teacher.
But your leg! Ah, it's caught in a bear trap!
But unlike the song I just referenced, I did not chop off the leg. So one of the kids tries to steal Mark's gun. What? Why would you place your torso in front of a gun barrel and then give it a nice hearty tug? Well, Mark and I were not the only one who heard that guy's howl of pain, so there's some walkers on the way. So we load up the gunshot victim and head back to our base. Back at the inn, Kenny's wife sees what she can do for the dude, and Lily gets into a screaming match with the whole group and gives me 4 pieces of food to give to the 10 characters here. And I decide to give them out based on how long the characters are actually going to survive. 1 for Clem, 1 for Ben, which Kenny did not care for, even though I decided to give 1 to him. Of course, you can only give 1 to him if you give 1 to Duck first. So I've given out all the food, but these choices, like everything else, doesn't matter! So, over 70% of players saved Carly, probably because she's hot. I mean, that's what I did on my first playthrough. But if you save Doug, he's actually a really cool character. He even builds defenses for the motor inn, like this cool alarm system, which alerts us to 2 people coming up to the motor inn. So our group pulls our gun on them, and they offer us some food in exchange for some gas. Our group, which is absolutely starved, agrees. So we have a small group go with the brothers, while another one stays behind. So once we get to the St. John Dairy, they give Doug some biscuits, and he decides to take them back to the group. While he does that, one of the brothers asks Mark and I to go pry zombies off of the electrical fence. Chop, chop, and Mark gets shot! And here's like the only moment where I can actually prove that this gameplay is my own, because I can have Lee avoid arrow fire like a freaking spaz! After that, Mark and I head back and we tell the brothers about the bandits. They offer to take care of Mark, while Andy helps me go deliver justice to the thieves. So we find a camp and start checking out. But then some crazy woman pops out and starts talking about castrating us or something. So the brother shoots her.
There. 1 shrill-voiced woman taken out. Surely that'll show the deep-voiced bandits.
When we get back, most of the crew is here and they're just killing time while Brenda makes dinner for us. But not Kenny. He wants to see in the back room of the barn. And how else do you accomplish a goal in this game? But by the power of... You know, selecting items and using them on other items. I'm in. Oh, and it's a blood room. Well, I ellipses my way through that conversation quite easily, and it's dinner time. So, Lee, being a good boy, needs to wash his hands before he can eat. But instead, he finds Gimli. Wait, no, this is just Mark, and he's more like the elf character. You know, Legolas! You see, it's funny because everyone's a cannibal now, and they knock me out cold. So I wake up in a freezer space. Clem is cowering, Kenny is sulking, and Larry is just so mad! Unfortunately, he has that garbage tickery we were talking about, and he falls over. And now we need to murder him outright. And can I say, I am not the least bit sad about this. Oh, Lily, you want to save him? Oh, you gotta want it. Oh, you gotta want it. Oh, smashed! Just like a like button. Now I plunder his body for a quarter, then I open up this vent, and then send Clementine on through. And then she sets us free. So Kenny and I grab us some weapons, and then we attack one of the brothers, who I spare, and then Lily comes up behind me with an invisible gun.
Freeze or we'll shoot you. Go right ahead. Bang, bang, ba-dow, 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 bang. Oh no, you got me. Hey, stop making fun of our invisible guns. Bang. Larry, stop it.
And then I encountered a game-breaking glitch. I tried for 50 minutes to approach Brenda, but every time I would get shot in the head. So finally I looked it up on YouTube and found some other people's footage, and there's like a button prompt that is supposed to appear, but it wouldn't appear for me. Dead. 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 So I started episode 3. Fortunately, all of my choices did save. There is one choice, however, that I didn't make. It was if Lee would plunder this car with much needed supplies, but he chose not to. Hooray! In episode 3, supplies are low again. So Kenny and I are looting the last of the supplies from the drugstore. But when we get back to the motor inn, Lily says that somebody is stealing supplies from the group, and I need to investigate it. Duck overhears this the whole time.
A mystery.
And for as annoying of a kid that he is, he's actually really awesome during this part. And I love the awesome saxophone riff that's playing during this entire conversation. Oh, and that's another thing I gotta mention. The music in this game is really good at setting the mood. Nothing that I'd listen to in my free time, except maybe that awesome saxophone song, but it is just excellent at setting the mood, making moments tense, exciting, or sad. Very good stuff. After a little point-and-click investigation, Duck helped me crack the case, and I decided to give him a high five. Duck thinks that you are incredibly awesome. Well, I think that Duck is a pretty smart guy. So the investigation pulled up a bag of meds that was left for the bandits, but since the bandits didn't get their supplies today, they attack us. So all of our people are lined up. Fortunately, Lily and I were in a room off to the side. She has me go distract them so that we don't all get shot. Unfortunately, if you use ellipses in this conversation, it results in you getting, like, one right in the eyeball. But if you can keep the bandits talking, Lily can line up a nice headshot. And then, boom, zombies just start rushing the place and pandemonium breaks loose. You need to lay down a suppressing fire so that everybody can get onto the RV, and then you roll. And now tensions are very high on the RV. Eventually we pull it over because Kenny hit a walker and it's stuck under it. But Lily is going off and trying to figure out who sold them out. And with me staying silent, I don't really do anything to de-escalate the situation. And as I mentioned, boom! The one semblance of choice in this game takes a bullet to the head. And based on my past playthrough of the game, I leave Lily here to die. Because if you let her back on the RV, she steals it! Well, once we get back on the RV, Katja, Kenny's wife, tells me that in the attack, Duck got bitten. Which is probably for the best, because he already has one moment where he was useful. Eventually we get to a train, and we need to get it out of our way. Through the power of point and click. While I was getting everything into position, a hobo approaches Lee.
You touch any of my stuff?
This is Chuck. He's a pretty cool character. Kind of. He helps us get the train all ready to take off. But while we're moving the train, Katja can see that Duck is all out of time. And she has me go tell Kenny to stop the train. I guess chucking the kid off the train isn't an acceptable send-off. So I go up to Kenny and stay completely silent. If this happens, he walks you out of the cabin, and when you go back, all of the characters, Ben, Clem, Kat, Chuck, were all killed by Zombie Duck, and then he pushes you off of the train as well. So I need to talk to Kenny. He hates that he has to accept his son's death, but he stops. And then Kat and Kenny talk about who's gonna end Duck. In my first playthrough, I volunteered to take him out, but if you let them take it out, I'm actually surprised, but Katja steps up to the plate. She takes their son off a little way, and then a gunshot pierces the air. After that, Kenny and I go to comfort the woman who just lost her child. Turns out that bullet was for her, and she still had to leave the traumatizing execution for Kenny. But if you stay silent throughout this entire conversation, Kenny will not have the guts to turn his gun on the boy. So, y'all get back on the train. Now you talk to Clem. And this is where Chuck loses a few points because Clem says that Chuck told her she was going to die. Oh, he had better be referring to the cosmic sense that all living things eventually die. Except lobsters. But last time I checked, Clementine ain't a lobster. Okay, so it turns out what he meant is the way things are going, she's really vulnerable. That mop that attached to her head could easily get grabbed, and she doesn't have any formal combat training. After that clarification, you get a few sweet cutscenes with the gal. You teach her how to handle a gun, and you even give her a haircut. There, who's my cute little lobster? And then we stop the train. Kenny almost slammed us through an oil tanker, and we need to get it down. But then we meet two new characters, Krista and Omi. And I'll be 100% honest, these are the best characters we've been with. You know, Kenny's a little unhinged, Ben's the one who sold us out to the bandits, and Chuck had the audacity to tell me that Clementine isn't a lobster. Krista is a little bit rude, but that's because she's protecting Omi.
You interrogating this woman for us?
Yep.
She set off any alarm bells?
Not yet.
But now I need to get the tanker down. Anyone want to guess how that's done? It's by the special power of moving your cursor over items and then selecting them and using them on other items. So we knocked down the tanker, and since we need raised stakes, a zombie herd is closing in on us. And we lost our ladder, so Omid and I need to jump down onto the train. I make the jump pretty easily, but Omid, he kinda sucks. I don't know how he screwed this up. Gravity was like 80% of the job, and now he's like 80% dead. Time for a fake choice! Able-bodied rude woman or hobbled leg cool dude. And I'm not even gonna show you my choice because... And with that, we ride the train to Chapter 4. So here we are, walking down Savannah Street, saying, "Who rang that bell?" I don't know who rang it, but we need to beat feet out of here. And so Chuck buys us an escape window. Eventually, we get to a mansion, and then there's some point-and-click shenanigans. Anyway, we're in Savannah because it's a port city, and Kenny's plan was to head out to the sea. So we split up. Omid and Krista stayed back to look after Omid's leg, and then Clementine, Kenny, and myself looked for a boat. But it doesn't look like Kenny was the first person to think of this plan because the port is completely vacant. He saw if a vote was salvageable, but all I found was some evidence that Vlad the Impaler was here. And then we found Molly, who quickly subdues us. Fortunately, Clementine was able to talk her down from killing us, but you know, it's been 5 solid minutes in this Walking Dead video game without any zombies, so now we need to escape some. So Molly was able to get Kenny and Clem up to this fire escape, but me, I needed to head underground. So to maneuver the sewers, you use the power of... After weaving through the sewers, I walk into a morgue that's full of cancer patients, and we get some world building. Well, actually I get shot because silence doesn't work for these guys, but as I talk them down, I learned that Vlad the Impaler display I saw was set up by Crawford, a group of survivors that made it this far by sheer ruthlessness. They think that I'm from Crawford and make sure that I don't report back to them if they want to put me down, unless I can talk my way out of it. After the situation is de-escalated, we get to talking, and the doctor of their group feels obligated to come with me since I tell him that Omid's leg is destroyed. So we make it back to the crew, and the doctor helps Omid while I look for Clementine, and I'm getting pretty scared because I can't find her. Sweet Pea? Oh, no. Sweetie? Oh, my darling! Oh, my darling! Oh, my darling Clementine! You were lost and gone forever! Oh, my darling Clementine. But Clementine did find Kenny his boat. All it needs is a battery and some gas and we'll be good. Also, Vernon needs some medicine. But where are we gonna find all of that stuff at this late hour? Crawford. So we decide to take a group and sneak in. When we're sneaking in, we see a guard. A zombie guard! Apparently this place fell apart from the inside, so now we'll have a pretty easy time finding all the parts. Well, I mean, I only consider it easy because I consider point-and-click gameplay the easiest ever. Sure, there are some zombies to deal with while escaping, but you know, click is dead, click is dead. It's not that difficult. But oh no, Ben is in trouble! Well, I know that his death is gonna come in about an hour, so since he's actually at peace right now... So we head back to the mansion and I talk to Clementine. She wants us to search for her parents tomorrow before we leave, but, there's no option to say yes, so I stay silent and that makes her cry. But I do leave her radio, and I don't think I mentioned this, but this has actually been a somewhat major plot point. Some creepy dude has been messaging and stalking Clem and the group over the radio. Next morning I wake up and I can't find Clementine again. But I do find her hat, and I hear the radio. Yeah, I'm not going over there. I played this game. I don't need it. Game, I can literally live without it. Fine. I walk over to it and I get a little nibble. Just a tiny little nibble taken out of my wrist. Great. Clem's missing, and I assume it's Vernon. Because yesterday he told me he'd be willing to raise her since he thinks that I'm unfit. So, final episode. I show the wound to what's left of my group, and I ask them to come help me save Clementine. Kenny doesn't trust me enough to come, though. Apparently being quiet has finally caught up to me. But Omid and Krista will come, which, with my knowledge of the game, I would actually consider the most canon group to go with Lee. So we make it to the morgue, and it's empty. But my illness is catching up with me. I begin fainting. After the first time I faint, I wake up to see them planning to chop off my arm. But I know how this song dance goes. I am screwed! So I keep my arm. Not that it makes much of a difference. I watched Lee's arm very closely for the rest of the game, and he does not use it. Except at one part, which is admittedly very awesome. We also get a call on the radio telling us that Vernon did not steal Clementine. So we decide to regroup back at the mansion. So we make it back to the mansion, and Kenny had the boat stolen by Vernon and his crew. But it doesn't really matter because the mansion is getting overrun. We all run upstairs, and then the most infuriating illusion of choice actually happens. So we have to have our final stand. Krista has 3 bullets, Kenny has 4, and I have 5. If you try to save 1 bullet or all 5 bullets, you will drop your gun. Maybe even if you exhaust your clip. This really just fruits my veggies, man. Why'd they even have that last part if you're just gonna drop the stupid... So we trap ourselves in the attic and Kenny and I start arguing. In the ensuing argument, a bus slams against the wall and it actually looks like we can kind of go through there if we dig. Hey, we're in the next house! So we all jump across this balcony to the next building and surprisingly enough, Kenny doesn't die. Yeah, see how the balcony just became unhinged? If Ben is still with your group, he falls here and Kenny stays behind trying to save the poor kid. But now he's actually with our group. This is interesting.
Did my choice matter?
What are you doing?
Get her, Ken! I got you, hun!
Save her!
Go!
No, and I'm a dingbat for thinking otherwise.
Yep, if Kenny survives the balcony, he leaves here. Literally 2 minutes later, he bumps into me and I drop my radio. So Krista jumps in, but she can't get out. So Kenny selflessly hops in and boosts her up. And then he just stumbles into the darkness with all the walkers. So we're moving across the rooftops to where we think Clementine is. And then we get to this big old sign. And when I'm going across it, surprise, surprise, it breaks. Well, I'm not gonna be too mad about it because I head down into the street. And as I pointed out, there is an awesome two-handed moment in this game. I head straight into that zombie horde. Shard of glass in one hand, meat cleaver in the other, and I become a one-man zombie slaying machine. So I make it to the hotel where Clementine is, and I just instinctively walk into the correct room where she is. And then we meet a crazy guy. Since he has a gun on me, he makes me drop off all of my weapons. And then we sit down and have a little chat. So the supplies that we found at the end of episode 2, you know, if episode 2 actually worked, belonged to this guy. Fortunately, I did not partake in raiding this guy, but he does make all of the choices that we've made throughout this game somewhat matter. Well, some of them. Right now, he basically lists off everything that you did that Clementine did not like. For me, this was leaving Lily on the roadside and letting her go to Crawford yesterday. Okay, well, Clementine didn't dislike that, but he didn't like me putting her in danger. Partway through the conversation, Clem sneaks out of her room and conks the guy in the head, and then I choke him to death. But time is running short for Lee. I need to get Clem to Omid and Krista so I can, you know, lie over and die. But when I open the door, there's a walker. However, it didn't immediately try to chomp me. Probably because in my murder spree, I got covered in zombie guts, which my character learns cloaks us from the zombies. So I desecrate this one and start painting Clementine so we can make our way through the streets. However, on the streets, I pass out again, and when I come to, we're in a jewelry store. I have no clue how 9-year-old Clem dragged me in here, but that's the reality of the situation. Also, I'm done. I can no longer walk. We make it to the other side of the room, but that's about it. I have her grab a pair of handcuffs from a security guard zombie, and then I have her chain me to a heater, and then I break my vow of silence. I like this kid. Find Omid and Krista. I played the sequel, and you end up with them anyway. And kid, I'm gonna miss you. At this point, you can have her put you down, or you can let her keep that part of herself intact. That's what I did. I'm handcuffed after all. I'm not hurting no one. And after that, she leaves.
So, that's The Walking Dead, Season 1. I'm not gonna lie, I like this game. I really like the sequel, and I'm really disheartened that they with closure of Telltale Studios, so I'll never be able to have the trilogy completed, but, you know. And I also didn't care for just how restrictive the game was. I much prefer it if when I'm approaching a combat situation, I can at least choose if I'm going from the left or the right. Yeah, I didn't just just down this very narrow path. Didn't care for that. But as a movie, if you're treating these games like a movie, I very much enjoy them. Alright, let's see what we're gonna be doing next month. Well, next time. Seriously, it was taking forever to make. Alright! We have so many gosh dang picks. Over the year and a half. Seriously, each one of these is a pick. And every month, we add in even more. If you would like to join this, I mean, any one of them could easily be picked from this huge, okay, I'm not Egyptian shuffling that. I'm just gonna throw in. Seriously, so many. I pick one every time we make a video, and I don't know which one to choose. I don't know which one to choose. The one that I'm gonna choose for the next video we're gonna make. Okay, feels pretty good. Feels pretty good. They're stuck together. This one. Isaiah Thomas has brought us Owl Boy. A lot. Yeah, I don't know. Looking forward to Owl Boy. It looks really good. That pixel art is beautiful.